The militant group Boko Haram is being blamed for killing dozens of fish traders in Nigeria. It happened Thursday in Borno State, close to the country's border with Chad. The head of the local Fish Traders Association says a group of 48 people was traveling to Chad to buy fish when the militants blocked the route and killed them. The official says the attackers didn't use guns, but slit the throats of their victims to avoid drawing the attention of multinational troops policing the area. In Kenya, meantime, police are in pursuit of Al-Shabaab militants who ambushed a bus near the border with Somalia Saturday. Officials say gunmen shot passengers who were unable to recite verses from the Quran. At least 28 people were killed. Kenyan security forces tracked down and demolished the attackers' camp. Al-Shabaab says the attack was in retaliation for police raids on mosques in Mombasa last week. David Gartenstein-Ross joins us now from Washington to talk about the rise of Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab. He's a senior fellow at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Thanks so much for being with us. Boko Haram in Nigeria, Al-Shabaab in Kenya and Somalia. Are we seeing two facets of the same extremism?
We really are. These groups are very much on the same page ideologically. Both of them are committed to an extremist Salafist version of Islam. They're trying to impose religious law by force, and in fact they have worked together in the past. Back in 2009, Nigeria engaged in massive counter-terrorism operations against Boko Haram, basically shattering the group inside of Nigeria. It had to scatter and find safe haven and support elsewhere, and they found support primarily from two other organizations, one of them Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, the other one Al-Shabaab in Somalia. So they do, in fact, have a history of working together.
Now, we're talking about the Kenyan governments, the Nigerian governments. At times, their responses have seemed similar, but at times very different. Most recently, we've been hearing about the Nigerians hoping for some kind of ceasefire. Have they had the same strategy? Have they had the same level or lack of success?
They've had different strategies. In the case of Kenya, they don't have Shabaab controlling significant territory inside of Kenya at all. Instead, a neighboring country, Somalia, has had Shabaab be a major force. A couple of years ago, they were the dominant force in southern Somalia. They've actually been in retreat. They don't govern as much territory, and the Kenyan defense forces were a big part of pushing Shabaab out of its last major urban stronghold, the port city of Kismayo. In contrast, in Nigeria, you've had Boko Haram basically rising in power over the course of the past couple of years. In Borno State, it controls the majority of territory, and the videos of what it's been able to do are awful. It's been able to implement its very strict version of Sharia law. They recently released a video which shows them undertaking a stoning, basically where someone is being stoned to death, and there's these crowds who are coerced to be there, quite obviously, who are cheering it on. Extraordinarily macabre.
Now, they aren't exactly next-door neighbors, but I'm wondering if we are seeing a contagion of ideas, ideologies, and brutality between those two nations, but into other nations as well.
Well, absolutely. If you go back to 2012 to 2013, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb actually was the dominant force in northern Mali. It worked with a number of other militant organizations there. If you look to Libya, jihadist groups have taken advantage of the chaos in the post-Gaddafi world. In Tunisia, they're not a major part of society, but the group Ansar al-Sharia in Tunisia has been able to be a rising movement compared to where things were in the Ben Ali years. I've done field research in Tunisia a couple of times in the past 2 years, and they're certainly seen as a very big problem. In fact, the first time I was there, one of the major concerns a lot of people had was that Salafi jihadists were carrying out basically vigilante attacks against people who they thought were flouting Islamic norms. So the growth of extremist groups and the Salafi jihadist movement in Africa is something which cannot be denied, and it really is important to ask why this is a growing phenomenon.
I'm also just curious, Africa faces so many challenges. We still think, many of us far from the region, of Islamic extremism as a Middle Eastern phenomenon. But is this turning into the defining battle for the future of Africa as well?
I'm not sure I'd put it that strongly, that it's the defining battle for the future of Africa. Africa has a large number of problems, and in the Horn of Africa, where Shabaab is active, another major problem is that climate change has really disrupted traditional agriculture, and it faces massive droughts that sometimes deepen into famine. In Western Africa, where Boko Haram is, Ebola has caused thousands upon thousands of deaths. Now, fortunately, it's caused very few in Nigeria. Nigeria has actually actually, for the time being, conquered its Ebola problem. But the point is that there's a lot of challenges that Africa faces. This is certainly one of them. And in terms of a military threat, I would agree. But I think that most of the problems that Africa has are more systemic problems. And Islamic extremism isn't just a symptom, but it's something that I don't think takes precedence over some of the major challenges in terms of governance, environment, and the like.
Yeah, they face more than their share. David Gartenstein-Ross of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Thanks so much for talking with us.
Good joining you.